In this slightly longer video, I will show how to monitor the performance and set alerts for SolidFire monitor via SNMP in a AdRem NetCrunch environment. What you see here is I'm removing a ping monitor. I don't need it because if anything happens, I will get SolidFire alerts. I also already removed other monitors such as HTTP, HTTPS that come from scanning the web UI because I simply don't need that information. Once I'm done with that, I set up certain alerts and I also can set up monitoring for performance. When alerts get kicked off, I can dismiss them. You can see one example here. I had utilization that was, alarm was raised and it was dismissed or acknowledged hours ago. For the performance monitoring alerts and charts, I can see them here. I have one for cluster utilization in percent, and then the other one is for individual volume ID 2, where I have, I think my M node is running on that volume and data store. So these are, for example, a couple of things that I care about. If I need additional monitoring, I can set up different performance views in the bottom left corner. Now, these trends, I can also pull up trend charts and monitor over a longer period of time, such as in this case. Of course, I don't have longer period of time because I just set this up, but this is what you can do directly from the node view. Now, if you go to performance views, you can create similar charts and you can zoom in and out, and you can also create performance reports and so on and so forth. This is volume ID 2. Like I said, this is where my M node is. You can see that the gauge is not moving all the time because performance metrics are pulled from SNMP once every 60 seconds in this case. If I wanted to create a new chart, I could use SNMP performance counter based monitoring. I would go to SolidFire MIB, SolidFire cluster MIB, and I would pick something like volume actual IOPS, volume throttle. I want to see the percentage of time volume is being throttled, volume percent utilization. So this is as long as it's below 1, it's underutilized with regard to the maximum QoS. If it's above, it's overutilized, and in the burst area, it will be throttled. There are node performance metrics that are not so interesting to me. There's cluster stats percent utilization. I think that one is quite interesting to watch overall busyness or utilization of the cluster. There are other things that we can use like volume latency, read-write latency, total latency, and things like that, depending on what your stakeholders see as important. Now, for volume performance, I would have to pick volume ID, in this case, volume ID 1, where my virtual center VM is and data store is, and then I would pick chart, gauge, or whatever I want to create. So that will be view right there at the very bottom. Now, another thing that is actually the most useful one is a little bit hard to see. If you click on that custom, you will go to these monitoring settings, and you can create alerts. Now, I've created three kinds: informational, warning, and critical, to give you an idea how you would go about this. So you can use SNMP performance counter, that will be IOPS or utilization. You could use particular SNMP variable value, and you can look for events in SNMP traps. This is very, very important. The one that will show as critical. Now, when you create a new alert rule, you need to find OID that you want and set up then alert that you want for that. So in this case, for example, I would pick informational, warning, or critical. I would give it a name. I would choose whether that makes cluster still operational or not. It is still operational in my case. And when it's being throttled, I really don't want any extreme actions. I just want to log this. So I would create a notification, informational type in the console. I would notify administrator, also informational, and then on alert close, I would create another notification. So basically, the admins could ignore this one, and at the end of the month, or maybe at the end of every week, I would go to the logs, pull this out, and then maybe take a look at what volumes might need QoS adjustments. So you can remove, you can use templates, set your own, and so on and so forth. Now, the second type is warning. I really didn't have a good scenario for that one, so I picked, actually this one is not so bad. So warning is when cluster utilization is above 5%. So 5% is obviously too low, but I needed a way to kind of generate some alerts. So the 5% I will alert. If it drops below 3% from 3 tries average, it will self-cancel. So this is fine. I don't want to create major alerts or anything like this. You just want to notify, right? Then if it stays on for a while, admins can look and decide what they want to do. So you could just modify this the way you see fit. Certainly you want to log this maybe for reviews and things like that. Now, this one is the one that we really need to take care of, because this is related to SNMP traps from hardware events, for example. So the cluster will still be up and running, otherwise we wouldn't even be able to get any alerts. Your ID, you need to pick the one that is the right one for your whatever you're trying to find. So in this case, I picked one OID, and then I selected any of the matches when log severity matches warning, critical, or maybe error. And then best practice, as far as I know, I'm not really logged via SNMP. So when we find severity, critical, or warning or error, we will generate alert, and it can be even customized to send alerts to individual people to specific admins. So maybe if you have a storage admin, they will go only to the storage admin. And then when these kick off, when they appear, we would acknowledge them. We could create support cases, and then finally, once they are acknowledged and resolved, we can also find them and see what happened and when. So in this case, you can see I had an alert to kick off at 1% cluster utilization. That happened around 10:45, 48. And you can change these alerts if they appear too frequently or more than you expected. Maybe it's kind of normal. Maybe you need to adjust this to a certain other value. One last thing I wanted to mention is that you could add individual SolidFire nodes and use SNMP monitoring based on general Linux SNMP performance indicators for network, CPU, and other stuff. But I don't recommend it. It doesn't really bring a lot of value.